All right, we finna go ahead and get a rocking here in a second, man. We go ahead and get a rocking here in a second. Come on now. Also, if you're watching this right now, make sure you go ahead and like my TikToks that I posted today, as well as the YouTube Shorts as well. Appreciate it. Yeah, we're gonna get rocking right now. I'll go right now. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Life of a Champ podcast, episode number 47. On today's episode, we are going to discuss our generation's war, and I'll go ahead and get into what that looks like here in a second. But if you're watching this, make sure you go ahead and leave a like. Make sure you go to subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And yeah, we're finna go ahead and get rocking. All right. All right. So our generation's war. This is something that if you watch Hamza, this is something that he talked about recently. He's been posting a lot about this, and the entire movement and the reason for inspiration for this video is something that I've seen as well. Right. What it comes down to is this. What it comes down to is this right here. Right now in society, obviously there's no war. But just because there's no war doesn't mean that there isn't things that we need to worry about. For example, right? Like, for example, our attention span. Our attention span is by the day going down when compared to where it was, let's just say, 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, honestly, right? Attention is becoming abused, honestly, by many different things, right? For example, your phone, for example, most people are slaves to their phone. Every single time it makes a noise or makes a sound or vibrates, our first instinct and our first instinct and impulse is to go ahead and look at it. We've been programmed for let's just say 5 or 6 years, right? I could even say let's just say 10 years, right? We've been constantly programmed that that is the right thing to do. And I remember actually, let's just say maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, I was watching a bunch of conspiracy theories and stuff like that, and one of the things they talked about is how society and the use of phones and everything like that would be exactly the way it is. And as a young kid, I was like, man, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be like that, and I don't want to see everybody be like that. But here we are, right? This is our generation's war. There's no conflict. Yes, sir, boy. Yes, sir. You already know what time it is, KJ. Come on now. You already know what time it is, man. All right, we're getting into it, right? This is our generation's war. Obviously, there is no real conflict, but this war that's being had is something that's gone under our nose. It's something we kind of seen progress, but now it's getting completely abused. Our attention is getting dictated by people who we don't even know, right? There's a lot of people that construct social media apps and anything on the internet strategically to keep you on the app longer than what you should be, longer than what is honestly necessary. And it's all done very, very strategically, and no one really bats an eye or questions it, which is why I had this podcast in the first place to go ahead and question those things because those things need to be questioned, right? All right. So, with that being said, this generation's war is just controlling where our attention goes. Our attention, more than ever, is getting distributed in many different areas in life into a lot of different things randomly through the internet, right? The software developers that develop these apps are able to control your reality, whether you would like to admit it or not. They are in control of what you pay attention to and what gets your attention. These things, we obviously know these things to be true, but yet, like I said, people are just so okay with that. So, the reason for inspiration for this video, I had watched a video from this guy named Hamza, and he talked about how, or he has this movement rather, where he deleted his Instagram and he had thousands of other men, like-minded men, to do the same thing, right? And I get exactly what he's trying to do. He's trying to create his own little rebellion, if you will, of people that are not choosing to be a slave of their attention and leave it up to somebody else to control what becomes reality. Anything your reality is anything that you choose to consciously consume, or maybe even unconsciously as well, right? So if somebody's able to change the things and change the ways you get in your input, they are controlling your reality. This kind of goes back to this a similar concept that I'm going to talk about on a future podcast with my grandma. Shout out to grandma. I know she ain't watching, but hey, shout out to grandma. She's the best. She's the best. And you guys will find out very very soon. But basically, she talked about this. She's very very in tune with these things and the way society's going. One of the things she talked about is this, and this is damn near the same thing, right? She talked about VR and how if we take the VR mask off, we are in control of our reality. But if we have the VR mask or whatever the hell you want to call it, right? Whatever you want to call it, right? If we have the VR on, somebody is controlling our reality. Somebody is controlling the perception that we have of our lives, right? And our brain adapts to the things that it sees and to the things that it hears, and it's just one of those things that, like I said, if you are somebody who's easily impressionable, which if you're watching this, you're probably going to be younger, so you might be a little bit more easily impressionable, right? These are things that you're going to need to be weary of moving forward because, like I said, somebody could easily be controlling your reality without even you knowing it, without even you wanting, super wanting it to be that way. Somebody could be controlling the way in which you think. Now, this is why I always advocate for people to really pay attention to the inputs that they intake, because, like I had mentioned earlier, the inputs that you intake become the reality in which you exist in. You have people that do not care about their inputs that they intake on a daily basis, right? And if you do not care and you do not consciously try to put in good sources of input, you're lost in the sauce, my guy. You're lost in the sauce 100% of the time. Like I said, somebody will control you. Somebody will get you to believe these things about yourself that might not even be true just because you let it be that way. So, like I said, this is our generation's war to focus. If you're a person watching this and you want to develop your self-discipline, if you want to develop the things that you're trying to focus on, you're going to need to get rid of some of these things that you choose to consume because they're not benefiting you, right? There's a lot of things that people watch on a daily basis that do not benefit them at all, which, you could take that as what you will, but my personal thing is I'm trying to be a lot more conscious of these things because I know that there's a hidden agenda that I'm just simply, kind of going along with instead of being questioning of it, right? So with that being said, our generation's war is to maintain our attention and to not let it get abused and used and controlled by someone we don't even know. You have things like TikTok taking over. Obviously, it's been taking over. Shorts taking over. If you're a person on social media, you'll know, or if you're a content creator yourself, you'll know that shorts are a must in order to grow on social media right now because everyone's doing it for the most part, right? People that are blowing up the fastest are doing that. They are in tune with what the algorithm has to provide, I guess. So, am I contributing to that? Yes, but I'm trying to give you the best input that I possibly can. The reason why I have this YouTube channel in the first place is to give you the best possible information that I possibly can. And, you know, you can choose any input to watch it. But if you're watching this right now, which it says we have 0 viewers right here, if you choose to watch this, or let's just say you're rewatching this, right? You're consciously choosing strategically more of what you want to consume. Now, you can go ahead and watch any source of entertainment that is not going to really benefit you in your life. Go ahead and do it if you would like. Now, this is not something I would recommend, and I would recommend to anybody. Whatever you're consuming, what people. Yes. And one of the things that Hamza had mentioned is this right here. There's a book. I'm gonna butcher this, but there's a book, if I'm not mistaken, that has to do with strategies of war. And one of the best strategies of war is if you're losing in something that the person is unconscious of that the war is even being taken place. I found that interesting. You know, there's a war right now going on. It's not physical, right? It's a war for your attention. These things, one of the most, it's pretty much being used as one of the most powerful ways of war, and we don't even think that it's going on. A lot of us don't even think it's going on. That is how they're winning. That's something to take into account. Something to take into account because, hey, you never know what is controlling us in general, right? What is pushing us forward? These are things you have to question. These are things you have to question for sure. So yeah, if you're in here right now, I want to know your opinion on this because, like I said, this is our generation's war. Now we're going to be the only ones that are going to be able to rebel, and if we don't rebel, then we're just going to be nothing more than slaves that consume content, mindlessly consume content. And if you know me personally, I'm trying to do my best to try to combat this, right? Could I be doing better? Yes. I try my best though. Now to take it one step at a time, right? So for example, I try to wake up in the morning and try to go as long as I possibly can without going on my phone. Now it is a lot easier because I'm not trying to really text anyone. I'm not pursuing any relationship or anything like that. Outside of my friendships, of course. But it's a little bit easier, but it's interesting how, let's just say, for example, let's just say I was talking to a girl right now, right? That one source of me wanting to talk to that one person could lead into me being consumed for the rest of the day, me not being as productive as I could be. I could just be thinking I'm only being on my phone just to talk to her, when in reality, you got all the people in these social media algorithms that are just out here looking like that because they know that they got my ass, which that's exactly what it would be, right? It wouldn't be nothing more than just that. So that's something you got to take into account. It is something that, as of recently, like I said, I've been trying to be more mindful of because I know, and I've seen plenty of people just be, dude, completely consumed by these things, and it's very interesting to interact with somebody like that, right? I'm sure everybody watching this has probably seen somebody be completely consumed by this. You're trying to, they are in person with you, right? They are in person with you. You're trying to talk to them, but it's not even going through, my guy. You are in person with them. They're so in tune with the device that is in their hand that they can't even acknowledge you in person. I find that shit absolutely insane. And that's why I try to do my best to, when I'm trying to have a conversation with somebody, put away my phone. Right? There's gonna be certain times, there's a place and a time to go on your phone, right? For example, right? Let's just say the gym, right? If you see me at the gym, for the most part, unless I'm by myself, I'm really not gonna be on my phone. And if I'm on my phone, I'm literally just changing music. That's it, right? So, with that being said, be in tune with your environment that you're in right now, right? Obviously, if you're watching this, then you're watching this, but outside of this podcast, right? Be very, very conscious of what is intaking you, because something is, whether you would like to admit it or whether you would like to admit it or not. That is the way it is. That is the reality of the world today. So, oh yeah, like I said, I want to know your input. KJ, appreciate you for stopping by, coming in clutch as always. That's why you the mod, man. Number one mod, KJ. Come on, now. You know what time it is, boy. You know what time it is. But yeah, it's the war of attention. Attention is the currency of today. Like I had mentioned on previous podcasts, attention is for sure the currency of today. And how are you spending your attention? Ask yourself these questions. Are you wasting your attention? Everybody's wasting their attention on it to some extent, aren't we? But what you got to try to do is try to fix that issue, because it is indeed an issue. A lot of us waste time. A lot of us waste our attention on the daily. A lot of us focus in on certain things that really do not matter at all. For example, let's just say, for example, right? I'm going to talk about something I talked about in my last podcast. And now I'm not saying I do not support this person, but what I am going to say is this. There are certain things that are getting spewed out to us that really do not affect our lives at all, and if anything, just make us worry. So, for example, let's just say modern day news, right? So let's just say there's a shooting that happens, right? There's nothing I can do about that shit. You're telling me about it, okay, I might feel a way about it, but can I really do anything about that shit? No. You can't really do anything about it. You could do your best as individual, but you can't control other people, right? So you're consuming these things, and it's taking your focus, it's taking your attention. You can't do anything, so what the fuck is the point of consuming that shit in the first place? That's just my own opinion, though. What is the point? What is the real point of consuming these things? They don't do anything for you, right? For example, like I said, I'll give you the example of last podcast, right? Brittany Griner, right? What the fuck can I do? How the fuck can I bring her home, bro? I can't bring her home, bro. So why would I spend my attention? Why would I spend my time and energy into something that I can't control? That doesn't even make any sense. Why would you ever spend your time and energy on something you can't control to an extent? I can't really do anything, so therefore, then what the hell am I supposed to do? Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Hold up. Give me 1 second. My bad about that. My bad about that. All right, we back. We back. We back. All right, so getting back into what I was saying, right? Make sure you're in control and you're conscious of what the hell you're actually consuming in this life. Do not mindlessly consume. Be very conscious of what you're intaking on the daily, because if you don't, then someone else will tell you exactly what the hell to think. And you lose the freedom. That is kind of what we're getting into, right? You're losing a freedom. You're unconsciously being told what to consume on the daily. This is something that you need to think about. Because a lot of people would beg to differ and say they have complete control. But if you go on TikTok and you scroll, are you really in control of what they really put out? To an extent you are. You might influence the algorithm, but they can pretty much put whatever the hell that they want. So for example, I'll give you a perfect example, right? So I have a TikTok, Life of a Champ podcast TikTok. That's the TikTok that I use, right? This is something that was interesting that I had noticed with the algorithm, right? It was one of my first times scrolling on TikTok. It probably would have been probably within the first 10 times of me actually scrolling for longer than like a minute. Because usually when I post on there, for example, right, I don't even use TikTok that much outside of posting things, right? I pay attention majority to what I'm actually posting than actually using the app itself. And one of the times that I was on it, I was just scrolling, right? And I see nothing but super provocative women. And you might be thinking, "Oh, champ, you're probably putting into the algorithm, you're probably influencing it to some extent." No, I'm not. I didn't. I swear to God, I didn't. because here's the thing, I would admit something like that, right? For me, for example, right? Whenever I see, let's just say on Instagram, right? When I'm on Instagram and I go to the explore page, every time I see an attractive woman, you know what I do? I click on the photo and I hit not interested every single time. I do not want to see women on my shit. I don't. I consciously try to avoid those things so they do not keep feeding me that same shit, right? So for TikTok, right? I didn't do anything to influence the algorithm, yet they were still showing me provocative images or provocative videos of women that I didn't want to see, and I did the same thing. And now it doesn't even show at all, thankfully. But that is kind of you controlling the algorithm in it to an extent, but at the same time, there's going to be certain things in which you cannot control, right? And if maybe let's just say you like a few of those videos, right? Now, let's just say 30, 40, 50% of you, all that you consume on TikTok is just going to be provocative videos of women. And that is not going to contribute to a healthy mental. It's not. It is something that sounds great on paper. Oh, you get to see plenty of beautiful women until you get the real world application and you get all the negative consequences that go with seeing attractive women. Your mental goes to shit. You might even be more likely to pick up habits that do not contribute to a healthy manhood. I'm going to say that. And if you know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about, right? But there's little things like that. You would think, seeing beautiful women, that is not going to do anything more than me just seeing the video. It can change your patterns of behavior. It can change the habits that you do or don't do. This is why you need to be very conscious of the things in which you intake. Because if you're not conscious with the things you with intake, because like I mentioned earlier, right, you're going to let somebody else tell you how to live. This is the war. This is the modern day war that we live in today. It is a war that most people are not even aware of that is being taken place, but it is being taken place. Now, like I mentioned, there's going to be only a few ways to really combat this. You combat this by being conscious of what you consume, and you combat this by maybe not putting yourself in that vulnerable position in the first place. I mentioned plenty of times on this podcast that one of the things that I do, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned earlier, is I start my day not being on my phone unless I really have to. Exactly. Honestly. I choose to try to go as long as I possibly can without going on my phone. Now, the reasons I get on my phone is to post TikToks. That's pretty much it in the morning. And then there's going to be moments in time where, of course I'm going to give myself that time. But then, when it's time to work, it's time to work. You put that shit away. But another thing you need to take into account is sometimes, just like everybody, right, you might get a little bit more consumed. And that happens to me. That happens to pretty much everybody, I'm pretty sure, watching this, right? So this is why you need to be very, very much in control of that shit. In control of your impulses, in control of the decisions that you make. Because these decisions that you make can influence your entire day. That is something that I've seen plenty of times with me on my phone, right? If the first thing I do in the morning is go on my phone, I'm more likely to be on my phone a lot longer than I would if I started my day without being on my phone. My pattern of behavior changes. I'm not easily influenced. I can actually control what the fuck I think and not be fed information in a way where I have no choice but to think about that shit. For example, like I talked about earlier, let's just say I'm using this example, the Brittany Griner stuff, right? If I go on my phone and I see that shit, that is automatically going to be one of my thoughts because I've seen it, right? But what you need to take into account is if you're not conscious of these things, like I keep repeating the same things. If you're not conscious of these things, somebody else is going to tell you, think about this. And it might not even matter. Most of the shit doesn't even matter. It don't even matter. It don't contribute. It doesn't contribute to your actual life. And I'll even use this. For example, right? So I might get some hate for this, but it is what it is, right? Sports, for example. Sports is one of the greatest distractions that has ever existed, right? I'm a fan of sports, right? What I will say is it is a distraction from trying to live the life that I'm trying to live, and it's hard to admit that. It is hard to admit that, but it is a true fact. it's a bunch of information that doesn't really change my life that much. I let it change my life, and I can maybe even let it change the way that I feel sometimes. But it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Let's keep it 1,000, right? If sports disappeared, would my life really change? If, let's just say, watching sports, would my life really change? No, not really. Let's be honest with you, not really. Of course, it's one of my passions, and I will always admit that playing basketball, one of my passions. Watching basketball, of course, one of my passions as well. But these things are just, they're not exactly contributing to the life that most people are trying to live. Let's keep it 1,000, right? Maybe I can indulge within these things later on in life, but as of right now, maybe a person trying to come up in this world, there's going to be things that are best not consumed. And if you're a person that can avoid these things, you're going to be in a much better position when it comes to living the life that you're trying to live in this life. That's what I will say. So yeah, KJ, I appreciate you for stopping by. I want to know your input on this, my guy. I know you've been giving me some input, but I want to know more what you have to think about this. We got 2 people in here. Make sure in case, yes, you are right. Exactly. But there's very, very few occasions where it actually matters. Like, so, for example, right? If you watch any of the ESPN shit and they talk about the LeBron and the Lakers all the fucking time, even though they're fucking ass cheeks, bro, like, they're telling you what to think, bro. They're telling you what to think, aren't they? LeBron's ass. LeBron and the Lakers are ass right now. They're ass. I don't care what anybody has to say. They're ass. They keep talking about them, and you keep thinking about them. Who the fuck cares? Who cares? It's not going to contribute to my life in a positive way, period. It's not. So like I was saying, really be in control. The only way to be in control of what you're consuming is to say, I'm going to consume this much, and I'm only going to consume this type of content. Be very strategic with these things. I recommend everyone to live their life very strategically. Do not live your life naive and blind. I recommend everybody to live their life very strategically. All the moves that you should be doing should have a favorable outcome, and if they're not giving you a favorable outcome, then you need to go ahead and adjust. Yes, Jesus Christ. But yeah, they're not giving you a favorable outcome. There's going to be an adjustment that needs to be made. It's as simple as that. Yeah. But like I said, this is our generation's war. We need to retake back control of our attention and what we consume on a daily basis. Like I said, a bunch of the shit that we consume is nothing but a bunch of garbage. Useless. Meaningless. Yet we still choose to consume it. Why? The last thing you want, and here's the thing, it's essentially is robot. Robots don't have feelings. They're just going to do whatever the fuck they want to do, right? You have people controlling these things, right? If they don't give a shit about you, they're going to do whatever it's going to take to benefit them and to keep you on the platform longer. They don't care about you. But I care about you. So this is why the fuck I made this podcast. I'm trying to make you look out for these certain things. I'm trying to get you to pick up on certain patterns that are going unchecked and unwatched. I'm contributing to the movement of trying to reclaim back our attention. And now, the impact I'm making right now is probably going to be very small. But the impact that I'll make in the long term is going to be immeasurable, right? Like I said, read the war of today, reclaim your energy, reclaim your attention, reclaim your focus back to trying to live the life that you want to live in this life. And if you don't, someone else is going to tell you how to live, somebody else is going to tell you how to think, and somebody else is going to tell you what to do. It's as simple as that, fellas. It's as simple as that. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end it off here in about 9 minutes. I want to talk to you guys about a few things, right? I'm considering shortening the podcast a little bit for obvious reasons. People cannot keep their attention on something very long. And if you're able to watch something that's an hour or even 30 minutes long, I clap it up for you. because not many fucking people can do that nowadays, which is ridiculous in my opinion, right? It's very very easy to get your focus and attention shifted to something else because there's so much to consume. There's always going to be so much to consume. There's going to be always what you need to realize is the more you consume, the more you know, but at the end of the day, the more you don't know, right? There's always going to be an abundance of information. Now, if you're a strategic individual who is trying to play this life the smartest way they possibly can, be very conscious of what you consume. If you like I said, the last thing you need is somebody controlling your life like that. That's the last thing you need. It's ridiculous that I even have to say this shit because this should be like, oh, I can already think about this. This should be something that everybody thinks about on the daily, but yet nobody does. I'm not even saying anything revolutionary it's gonna super evolve mankind, but in reality, I am, which is that's the craziest part about it. This shouldn't be some revolutionary idea. This should be something that everybody's conscious of, but not everybody's conscious of. Crazy. Exactly. This is your life. Stop letting people tell you what to do, how to think, and how to live your life. Because the second you do that is the second you lose all control, real control that you have on your life. Your life is going to be influenced to mediocrity, nothing more than mediocrity, and nothing more than something that isn't a life, in my opinion, worth living. You should always be working on yourself, fellas. I say this time and time again. This is a part of working on yourself, is reclaiming control on what you're focusing on. Like I mentioned in another podcast, the more you distribute your attention and your focus and your energy onto a bunch of different things, the less you're going to have control of it. And if you're watching this, you should want more control of your life. And this is the way to do it. Now, some people might not take this. Some people might not watch this, right? But if you're watching this, like I said, you need to really take these things into account because, like I said, you want to be living the life that you want to live, not the life that they say, hey, this sounds good, don't it? No. Don't do that. Don't do that, man. It's not the move, my guy. It's not the move. Live the life that you truly want to live outside of all of these influenced algorithms that don't contribute to the best possible life that you can live. It's easy to get lost in the sauce, fellas. Easy to get lost in the sauce. But your willpower and your focus and your attention have to be a lot stronger than what your fellow men or women with the strength that they have, because they really don't have strength, right? They barely have any control on what they consume on a daily basis. Barely. Seen it time and time again, fellas. You see those people on their phone, man, completely consumed, and I'm right here trying to talk to you, and you're not trying to hear me out, man. Terrible. Hey, that's a life for living, but it's not the reality that you should accept. Accept a different reality and change the reality of the ones around you. The way you do that is to try to spread this message as far as you possibly can. This is what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to spread this message because it needs to be spread. Shout out to Hamza for putting me on this game. I had already taken steps necessary because I already knew that my focus was going to shit on the daily because I chose to go on my phone early on. And I kind of am conscious, like, let's just say, for example, I don't know, maybe a time last week or something like that, I decided to start my day by going on my phone. I knew that the second that was the first decision that I made, that I'm going to be less productive in that day. I knew it. I already knew it. I picked up my phone, and I told myself this, and it didn't even matter. This is coming from somebody that knows this shit, and I still get caught up in this shit because it is just that powerful. The pull is so crazy. The pull's so crazy. I picked up my phone and I consciously thought to myself, yeah, I'm probably not going to have as productive of a day as I could have had if I didn't choose to go on my phone. The first decision of my entire day. I wake up, and that is the first decision that a lot of people choose to make. Now, if you want to live an average life, go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it because it's not going to hurt you. If you're trying to live an average life, it's not hard to live an average life. So go ahead and do whatever the hell you want to do. But if you want to live an extraordinary life that is actually worth living, that is worth pursuing in this life, you need to take very much. You need to take these things into account. You need to think about these things. You need to readjust the habits and the decisions that you make in your day. You need to think of these things. So I'm going to go ahead and end it off here. This was episode number 47 of the Life of a Champ podcast, Our Generation's War. If you're rewatching this, make sure you go ahead and leave a like. Like I said, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. And also turn on the post notifications so you know exactly when I'm going to go live. I'll be having a video come out tomorrow. I'm going to be posting my Evolve to Inspire content on my separate channel. I'm going to be posting it on this channel so I can give the most amount of information positively in a way that is accessible to more people, opposed to doing it on two different channels. So that's what I'm going to be doing, and appreciate everyone who supported me. And other than that, I hope you guys have a good rest of your night. And like I said, make sure you go ahead and spread the message because it needs to be spread. And you guys have a good rest of your night.